Welcome to the Nectar Research Cloud video tutorials. This tutorial will show you how to connect to the dashboard and launch your own VM. To start with, we go to the Nectar homepage, nectar.org.au, and click on the Research Cloud link. We can access the dashboard by clicking the Enter Cloud Here picture, but before we do that, I'd like to point out the User Guides and Support link. This is very useful if you need any extra information. There's a lot more detailed explanations in there. Click on Enter Cloud Here. This will take us to the Australian Access Federation login. Select your institution from the list. If you're part of only one institution and you don't want to have to do this step every time, you can turn these on. If you're part of multiple institutions and you may change which login you use, you may need to leave them off. Now you can enter your username and password from your local institution. And this will take us to the Research Cloud dashboard. As you can see here, I don't have any servers running, but we'll see that change in a minute. The first button I want to point out is this project button. If you've got multiple projects, you can switch between them here. If I click on Instances, this is where we manage all the instances or virtual machines that we have running. There's nothing there at the moment, obviously, but we'll come back here in a minute. If we click on Images and Snapshots, the images you can think of as templates, a template operating system that you can launch to create your own preset virtual machine. The instance is the running virtual machine. A snapshot is a copy of that running virtual machine in that state. So for instance, if I set up a web server and I wanted to save all of the settings that I've put into there, I can create a snapshot of it and use it as a backup so I can launch it again. Or if I need to create multiple web servers, I can launch copies of them from those snapshots. The snapshots you see here are a combination of my own personal snapshots that I've created as well as some public snapshots that have been made available. But before we go to images or snapshots, we need to go to Access and Security. Now, these are very important as these control how I access or how other people access my VM. By default, there is no direct access to your virtual machine. You need to make sure you define how that access will happen. Now, there are several defaults here, such as SSH and HTTP, but I want to create my own. So I'm going to create a security group, and I'm going to call it Basic Rules. My description, I'm going to say that it allows SSH, HTTP, which is web, and HTTPS, which is secure web. Create security group. And you can see the group has been created, but there are no rules in there yet. So I need to click on Edit Rules, and I need to say what ports I'm going to make open. I'm going to use TCP/IP, but there's a couple of others there, UDP, ICMP. Port 22 to 22, that is for my SSH, and the CIDR here is 0.0.0.0/0 means that any IP will be able to access this machine. This doesn't mean that the machine is insecure, but there's other security mechanisms will apply. It just means that we're not restricting the location from which a machine can access my VM. If you do want to restrict it though, that is possible as well. Click Add Rule, and you can see at the top there it says Success. We've added the rule. However, it's only added that one, so I need to add the other two as well. You can see I can also remove rules now. But I just want to add in port 80, and I'm using the same CIDR, and I need to also add HTTPS. You can see my port 80 is in there already. Add rule, and now my basic rules are all ready to go. The next bit is the key pairs. Key pairs are very important as they define how allow how I access my VM. Now, if you want to maintain a secure VM, and everybody should, you'll need to have a key pair. A key pair allows me to connect my local computer to my virtual machine. You can import a key pair if you've created it somewhere else, but we're going to create one. You can see I already have one there, but we'll create one now. I'm going to call my key pair my new key. Now, what will happen when we launch our VM, the key pair will be injected into the image when it's launched. I then have a copy of this key pair on my local machine when I SSH, and it allows the two to connect, which allows me to have a secure access. It is a key, so you need to make sure you protect it and you look after it, and you don't lose it, because you can't download this again. You click Create Key Pair, you'll be automatically prompted to, you'll be downloading it automatically, and you may be prompted to save it somewhere. Depending on your web browser, in Safari it's automatically downloaded to my Downloads folder. If you're using Internet Explorer or something else, you may find that you're prompted for a location. Save it wherever you want, but as long as it's somewhere that you'll know that you'll be able to find it later. You don't get the opportunity to do this again, so please make sure you put it somewhere sensible that you will remember. Now, mine has gone into my Downloads folder. I can now go back to the Access and Security and see that my new key pair is in the key pairs list. Now we can start a VM. We have the necessary components ready. Click on Images. Now I could launch this from a snapshot, such as Web2Go or one of the MATLAB installs, but what I'm actually going to do is use the latest Ubuntu 12.04 called Precise. And I click on Launch. Now, you need to fill in this form. The server I'm going to call my new server. You can put in user data. Some of the snapshots allow you to pass information through to the VM that can be extracted from the metadata, such as Web2Go. You can put in a username and password, which is used in the creation of the databases for the web services. We're not going to use it right now because we're not worrying about that, but it's just there in case you need it. So the tutorial on Web2Go will show you a bit more about that. On the side here you can see your project quotas, so if you're using the free access account you'll see how many instances you're able to have. I've only got 2 available here. The other thing we can look at is the flavor, which is the size of the VM. If you click the list there you can see that you can have a small or a medium. If you've got the free account you can only use small or medium because that's the maximum of 2. You can have 2 smalls or 1 medium. If you have a larger allocation you can use the other ones as well. You have to select a key pair. Now, when I say you have to, you should. It's not going to happen. It's not going to force you to select one, but if you don't, you won't be able to maintain your system. You need a key pair in order to be able to access it. So we're using the My New Key, which we just created. You can also launch multiple instances. So if you wanted 2 web servers on the free account, you could create 2 at once here. We're going to stick with 1. We don't need to have any more than that. The security groups. The default security group doesn't have anything in it, so I'll just turn that off. We could use any of the others, but we've set up basic rules, so we're going to use that one. And now we can launch our instance. We're taken straight back to the Instances tab, and we can see my new server. We can see the IP address and the size, and we can see that it is now switched from build to active, and it's up and running. And we've got here some actions. We've got a bunch of extra actions like VNC console and log, and how we can suspend or reboot the instance, and we can also terminate the instance. If we click on My New Server, it is a hyperlink, the name, and we can see a bit more information about the key that we're using and the underlying image and the security groups, the basic rules that we added in. We click back on Overview, and we can see we have a virtual machine up and running. So that's it for this tutorial. That shows you how to connect to the dashboard and start your own VM, but most importantly how to set up the security groups and the key pairs in order to get yourself running. Thank you very much.